What's shaking, everybody? My name is Ross Mandell. I'm coming to you live today from Delray Beach, Florida, at Scott Woolley Studios. What a treat I have for you guys today. I was turned on to this guy by my team. He's charismatic. He is raw. And you know, that's what we're all about here at Raw Media. He is an unapologetic real voice in the podcasting world. If you haven't heard of this guy, it's time you did. You got to subscribe. You got to friend. You got to follow, because this guy is the real deal. And that's what I'm telling you. I want you to say hello to my brother here, Bek Lover.
My brother, Mr. Mandell, thanks for having me on the show. I'm jealous that you live in Delray Beach, man. What a beautiful... I was just mentioning Delray Beach yesterday. I think a lot of us New Yorkers are no longer wanting to wait till retirement to move to Florida. The way they've been running things in our state, the way things have been going. I mean, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I mean, I was technically born in Texas, but my mom was from the Bronx. My dad was down there, so I was born in Texas, but I didn't grow up there. As you can tell, I don't have a y'all. It's more of a yo.
I actually married a Bronx girl, so I can relate to that. I mean, you could have been my son, believe it or not. I married a girl from Newbold Avenue in the Bronx. And
my family was in the Kingsbridge area on Jerome Avenue when the first wave of Albanians escaping communism made it down to the boogie down Bronx. The Bronx was on fire at that time. Yeah. The Albanians, we look Italian, and there was a lot of interracial, stuff going on in the 60s, and we got caught in the middle of that. People thought we were Italian. The Italians were going with the blacks, and you throw in the Jews and the Irish, and, it was, how the Bronx was. It was a war zone.
A war zone. I mean, a rough spot.
And we walked into it not knowing what the hell to expect, but they also didn't know what to expect from the Albanians.
Well,
let's put it this way.
Go ahead.
What the Albanians did for the Bronx, the NYPD couldn't. So my family started in the Bronx as refugees escaping communism from Albania, one of the worst dictatorships in the world, the most isolated country in the world at the time, even more isolated than North Korea today.
Wow.
No one was allowed in. No one was allowed out. You would have never had Dennis Rodman dribbling basketball with the dictator in Albania.
They would have killed him.
Yeah. He would have been wiped out.
I get it. I'll say this to you. So I remember in the 90s, I already have my own brokerage firm. I own a bank, a hedge fund. I'm just living the life. And, once in a while you go out, you entertain brokers, you entertain traders, clients, you go to clubs. And I'll never forget, there seemed to be at some point an influx of really tough, ruthless, sort of savage guys. And they were said, stay away from those Albanians. And that's when I first started to become aware of the Albanians, the nature of the Albanian, that you were considered tough, ruthless in the New York City nightlife. And then my team, discovers you, and they talk about you spent a lot of time growing up in the New York City nightlife, right?
But you got to see, okay, because you're a little older.
Yes.
Than me. You got to see the freaking, the epitome of New York nightlife. I'm a
witness.
Places I dreamed of.
Studio 54, Xenon, Magic.
What else you want to know?
My first apartment was on West 54th Street, 2 blocks from Studio. And the guy that stood at the front ropes that didn't let anybody in, his name was Mark. He ran the whole place for Ian and Steve. He lived in my building. We used to smoke pot together and hang out. And so he would see me coming down the block, Rossaroo! And I'd be like, who is this kid? But I was young. I was, in my 20s. It was a special time in New York.
I always said I would have traded 1 year of my life to be able to go to Studio 54 for 1 week. When I was out in the nightlife and understanding to this day, so much of what that club did still affects nightlife today.
100%.
Right?
It was
the rope, the red rope, the picking people, that all comes from that world. And Ian Schrager, what a phenomenal way this guy turned his life around after. He's designing the Edition hotels with the Marriott brand, some of the most beautiful, the Public Hotel, which is a hot spot in the city right now. some people don't even realize that, one of the partners of Studio 54 is still out there,
Still doing it.
and involved in hospitality.
Still doing it. I mean, I was invited to his wedding in the 80s at one point. And I was more friendly with Steve. Steve was always trying to to bang me, really. He was this raging stone big promoter. Ian was always the guy behind the scenes in charge of the business and all that kind of thing. And this guy Mark used to run the outside. And I'll never forget the first time I got in. I'm not exaggerating. Over
with that shirt.
Over 1,000 people on the street. And when I got in, there was less than 25 people actually in this giant club. Of course, hours later it was packed. But I mean, I was like, I was thinking to him, what a scam. Everybody's dying to get him. There's really nothing going on yet inside. But yet,
did you ever see the film about that?
Of course, many times.
I don't think there's any way you could have captured what it really was, but how close to what really happened in there do you think that film got on a 1 to 10?
On a superficial basis, it was pretty good. Like Steve used to make me take my shirt off sometimes and walk around without my shirt on because I used to be really fit.
So that part's real.
Oh yeah. And the Quaaludes, we had Roras and Lemons and this hypnotic sedative that was being marketed to every housewife in America. Non-addictive, non-habit forming. It was the most crazy drug of all time. They actually the feds actually had to get involved and ban it because at the federal level, because at one point, 90% of all emergency room people that would come into the emergency rooms, from what they call the graveyard shift, 11 at night to 7 in the morning, 90% it was all Quaalude related. It was really a rocking time. But here's something I want to learn something from you, Bek, and I also want the audience to understand. There was a time when I think it was in the 80s or 90, right around, I forget the exact time, you'll tell us, and there was a terrible war that was being played out on television, the former Yugoslavia. And it became 13, 15 countries or something to that effect. So explain, if you don't mind, explain to the audience a little bit of history, because I know it really deeply affected not just you and your family, but I mean, it was a brutal war. I mean, genocide, mass murder going on. They're talking about it every night on television.
So it's still an issue today. And to be honest, I'm still very worried for the family I still have left in that region with everything that's going on in the Ukraine. It's all related, even though we're further away from the Ukraine. It plays into the whole battle of East and West. And unfortunately, where the Balkans are located, right? The Balkans, for those of you that are ignorant, because most Americans can't even tell you where Georgia is
Correct.
on a map. It's sad, but it's true. We don't even know our state capitals. Nope. So, where Albania is located, okay, is in the heart of the Balkans. The Balkans is, if you're looking at the map of Europe, of Italy, the boot, you go to the east of that, and now you go across the Adriatic Sea, and you're what's known in the Balkans. The Balkans is Greece, Albania, Kosovo, Montenegro, Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia. These are all newly formed countries, okay? What happened was, and what people don't understand, now, again, you talk to anybody from the Balkans, they're going to tell you a very different version. A lot of them are going to try to skew the history in their favor.
Everybody does that.
And I always tell people, and I always tell people, especially in these small countries, right? They're very full of pride, and there's been conflict that's going on forever. So I always tell people this. Find out where you're getting information from first. That's not just for what I'm about to tell you. That's for anything in life. Everyone has bias. You read a book, who's the author? What's his background? Was there anything that could have skewed his opinion that is going to skew your opinion? Okay, there's agendas, there's organizations. So I always tell my audience, please question what I'm telling you, not only because you might think I have bias, but I could also make an error.
Correct.
And sometimes, we don't do it on purpose, but there's a slip of memory. I misquote something. So please always do your due diligence when you're taking in information. Information is very powerful. It can completely change your opinion. If it wasn't powerful, there wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar industry for advertising, because clearly it affects people's decisions, right?
100%.
Same thing with the media, right? And whoever controls those organizations can push their opinions or
Their
agendas
narratives.
or beliefs.
Yeah, they have narratives, they have agendas, etc.
But now that we live in the world of the podcast, you should also know who you're listening to.
Correct.
Who are they? So I'm a first-generation Albanian American. I was born in Texas, but I grew up in New York City. My family's from New York. And the reason I was born here is my mother escaped communist Albania with her father, who was an anti-communist fighter. My great-grandfather was thrown into the gulag of Albania for 28 years. How he survived, I don't know. He ended up getting out after 28 years and living another couple of years before he passed away. Never got to meet him. A very miserable existence. He was only arrested because he was a teacher. A teacher.
It's a crime,
and
I get it.
And the only teacher in that whole region, which is Tropoja, which is, if you ever seen the movie Taken, which I hate that.
Oh, my God. Tropoja. Marco from Tropoja. We're all Marco.
Yeah.
We're all from Tropoja, right.
Well, that movie's inaccurate for a couple of reasons. One, that is not the overwhelming majority of Albanians. Two, Liam Neeson would have never took out 100 Albanians. It would have been the other way around. It would have been the other way around. But to give the history, as you asked, so the Balkans has been the crossroads of many empires, starting as far back as the Roman Empire, all the way to the Ottoman Empire, which was in the region for 600 plus years.
Correct. The Turks.
Okay, so the Turks came into Europe in the 1300s. The Albanians resisted them, and so did some of the other people of the Balkans. Where the animosity comes from was in the 7th century, you had a large migration of Slavs, okay, Slavic-speaking people, which came from Russia, right? The Caucasus.
Correct.
Yugoslavia was the unity of many Slavic countries in the collapse of the Ottoman Empire in World War I. The only problem is the Albanians, who are ethnically centric, the oldest people in the Balkans, we probably share some DNA with some of the Greeks. And a lot of the DNA tests are proving that our DNA is the oldest in the region. And much of it is spread throughout Europe. Our language is the only original Indo-European language in existence. Our language is proof of our antiquity.
Wow.
But when you're held under oppression, first under the Turks, and then under the Slavs, and then under communism, our history has been suppressed. So for the first time in 2,000 years, the Albanian history is finally coming out.
Wow.
And what's sad is we've had such an impact in the world and nobody knows anything about us. So how basically the turmoil was created is the Slavs started migrating to the Balkans in the 7th century. It's a simple Google search. The Serbians want to say, nothing against them. I don't hate all Serbs. I've said this publicly, even though my family was wiped out by them. Even though they've done atrocities, I don't hold the general population responsible.
Correct.
Okay,
Leadership.
That's number one. Number two, even if they have hatred towards me, it's because they've been propaganda, have propaganda that's been fed into their brain.
Sold. Yep.
And it's a similar situation to what's going on in the Middle East right now. I always find it amazing how we can live in New York City and you'll see a Muslim woman covered in an Arab woman. You'll see the Hasidic woman. Their kids are playing together and it's like such a beautiful image. But on the other side of the water, they're trying to wipe each other out.
Crazy.
And it's the same thing. So that's the beauty of America, right? It brings all these people together. But to finish the history, when the Turks came in, we resisted them more than any other nation. We held them off for about 20 or 40 years. It was like Bangladesh fighting America today.
Crazy.
And our national hero, his name is St. George Castrioti. He was made a saint, also known as Skanderbeg. How Mel Gibson hasn't made a movie about this blows my mind away.
I like it.
He holds off the Ottoman horde. At the same time, he crosses the Adriatic Sea and saves Italy from the French, if I'm not mistaken. So they make him a saint. They make him a saint. So his statue stands in the middle of Rome. It's called Piazza de Albanese. What's even more interesting is that after we eventually fell to the Turks, because eventually we were conquered, the Italians in friendship offered land. You can Google all of this. Wikipedia, encyclopedias, ask any historian. The Italians in friendship gave the Albanians land in Calabria and land in Sicily.
Wow.
And then when they did conquer, at that time, they estimate half of our people left and went to Italy at the time, not as invaders, as friends. Interesting enough, the word Calabria, a very big region, a very mafioso region.
Yes.
You look at these people, I swear to God, they look like our cousins.
You can tell, right? You can tell,
Some of them don't like it, but let me link everything together now. In the Albanian language, in ancient Albanian, the word for castle was kalaya. We still use the word. Kalaya means castle. Arborea means the ancient word that we used to use for Albania. It literally means the Albanian fortress. And what happened was when we migrated to Calabria, we built a castle in Calabria because we anticipated the Turks coming. We built a fortress. That's where the name comes from.
Wow. Very cool.
And a lot of Italians don't know this. But if they have some animosity towards the Albanians, it's because after communism, you have people caged in like animals for 50 years, atheists, God taken out, no freedom, in really bad poverty, and then they're unleashed on the world. And, you know, some of them did some things here and there, but the overwhelming majority, brother,
Are good people.
as you mentioned, you know, they're strong people, yes, but we're very loyal.
Yeah.
We have morals.
Yeah.
Everyone has some rotten apples, brother.
Everybody.
The overwhelming majority of Albanians are hardworking, business owners, very proud to be American. I mean, am I wrong or right?
Let me tell you.
I mean, when I say they love America, like they go crazy.
Let me tell you my experience. So I decided at some point that I was going to take my stock brokerage firm public in London. And I was told by the biggest law firm in all of London. They're at the top 3 floors of Tower 42. I'm not going to mention the name, but now you know where that you can find them. They told me it's impossible. It cannot be done. It's never been done. I said, well, let me get this straight. It's never been done, or it's impossible. 2 different things. They said, what do you mean? I said, they said the 4-minute mile was impossible. For thousands of years, nobody could run a mile in under 4 minutes until one guy did it. And now they all do it. So is it impossible? It's just never been done. They tell me both. And I said, well, why? What would I need to do to be able to take my little brokerage firm on Wall Street public in London? And they gave me a litany of things. So I get in the car. I'm going back to my hotel. They told me to go to the airport and leave the country, that I have no shot. And I call one of my dearest friends, who I didn't even know he was Albanian until we actually put his bio in our prospectus when I did go public. His name is Alexander Dumas. Alex, a little shout out. He was a solicitor, a barrister. He argues in court. He's a lawyer. He's an accountant, a chartered accountant in London. But he's the parliamentary appointee to the country of Albania.
Respect.
And, you know, I can tell you he's fiercely loyal. He's righteous. He's a great guy. I love him, you know, like a man could love another man without crossing a boundary. And I have nothing but, you know, that's the only guy I could say that I have personal, you know, knowledge of as a human being, as a man, as a friend. He's Albanian to the core. He still is the parliamentary appointee from England, from the United Kingdom to the country of Albania. And he talked to me from time to time about some of the issues that they were dealing with. And
very tragic history.
I could see it troubled him. Now, this is a guy that had a beautiful apartment in the heart of London, a flat which, you know, was really, really nice, and a castle in the south of France. And, you know, Alexander's biggest headaches were having to repair the roof of his 500-year-old castle in France. Do you know what a roof costs on a castle? I said, Alexander, I do not know. I do not care. If you need some additional funds, I got you. But so that's my experience with an Albanian, and it's just really a super great one. But
So what happens is, just to
yes,
finish,
please.
because I don't want to leave the audience hanging, and I'm good at letting go and then continue.
Let's tie it together.
The Ottoman Turks control the region for 600 years. After they collapse, okay, in the aftermath of the fall of the Ottoman Empire, all the people that were under them, because remember, they went all the way from the Balkans all the way to like Uzbekistan, like, you know, the Turks was still the biggest empire ever.
That was a huge empire.
As far as land.
Correct.
As far as land mass. After the collapse, all of our neighbors attacked us at the same time. And we lost 70% of our territory,
Wow.
Ethnic Albania. There was no maps. If you go look at the Turks' maps, it'll show where the Serbs are, where all these people are today, where we were pushed out of,
Wow.
where we were cleansed from. On those ancient maps, we were there. So, it's funny, make it short. So in the aftermath of that, we lose about 70% of our territory in the Balkan Wars. If it was not for Woodrow Wilson, the U.S. president,
Correct.
and the Albanians of Boston, shout out and respect to Boston. This New Yorker loves you. If it wasn't for those first Albanians in Boston becoming friends with Woodrow Wilson, Albania would have been wiped off the map, and we would have been like the Kurds, a nation without a home.
Right.
So our love affair with the United States goes back to 1912, goes back that far.
Wow.
And then unfortunately we fell under the Iron Curtain, and I wish the West would have armed us, because we just could. How are you going to fight them? They're being armed by the Soviets, and we were there holding our wee-wees in our hands. That's why my grandfather fought to the last bullet. My great-grandfather told him, you're going to get out of here because someone's got to survive. And that's how my mom's family ended up in America. Now, my dad came from Kosovo, which used to be northern Albania under the Ottoman Empire.
Okay.
Until it was annexed and placed into Yugoslavia. We are not Slavic. Now, under the dictator of Yugoslavia, Tito, it was a more a more free version of communism. It was socialism. You could leave the country. You could work. People had an okay life for a while. Right. I'm not going to sit there and deny that part of it.
Right.
And Kosovo itself had an autonomy in Yugoslavia. So even though we weren't a country, the dictator of that country knew to let the Albanians rule themselves.
I get it. Yeah,
Fast forward to the 80s.
It's crazy.
Milosevic comes into power, who I think was placed in there by powers that be to completely annihilate that country.
He was an animal, right? Fair to say.
He was the butcher of the Balkans.
Yeah.
We started started to peacefully protest our losses. They stripped us of our autonomy. We were never asking for independence. I mean, we dreamed of it.
Right.
But we also knew we couldn't fight Yugoslavia. They were too powerful. They were like the 5th or 6th most powerful army in the world at that time.
Wow.
So this is all documented. If you go to Google, YouTube,
Crazy.
You type in Kosovo demonstrations, 80s, you'll see the entire resistance was peaceful. We tried to follow the teachings of Dr. King and Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. And for over 30 years, we peacefully tried to get our rights restored. And the crackdown just continued to get worse and worse and worse under Milosevic's regime, where every Albanian was fired from their jobs. They would set up checkpoints everywhere. They made our lives a living hell. And we were fully under military occupation for a good 15, 20 years. We tried to peacefully resist. And then the rest of the Yugoslavian countries, Bosnia, Croatia, all declared their independence, and they erupted into war. Right. We stayed out of the war. We still were trying to make peace the path. They tried to paint us another picture. Then why didn't we jump right in with Bosnia and Croatia? I get it. We were hoping that the world would see our struggle for freedom and recognize our right to have self-determination and be treated humanely. When the Dayton Peace Accords happened in Ohio, they left Kosovo out of the equation. And then we had no choice but to bear arms, and the resistance started. The Kosovo Liberation Army, which was backed, I'm pretty sure, by Uncle Sam. There's plenty of books that have come out about this. And that valiant resistance with really horrible weapons, man. Right. I'm talking World War II era, old AK-47s that didn't even shoot right, many of which came to Kosovo when the Civil War erupted in Albania because they had a financial collapse of a pyramid scheme.
I get it.
Those weapons ended up, some people think that collapse was actually engineered to create that situation.
Organized. I believe that. I get it.
So we could get the weapons and create the resistance. Correct. And then, like I say, though, if it wasn't for NATO, which is what's scary about what's going on under Trump, and I did support him publicly because compared to the other side, I mean,
I get it.
What are you going to vote for?
That's the problem.
So we are a very pro-West country. The fact that we haven't been made a member of NATO, that Kosovo is not a member of NATO, when you're trying to bring the Ukraine into, Biden was trying to bring the Ukraine into NATO while they're in an active war with Russia is crazy to me. When you have a country that's recognized by half of the world, US and Western countries, we have bases there, very strategic. If America lets those bases go, Trump lets those bases go in Kosovo, he's a fool. That's the crossroads of the world. Camp Bondsteel is one of the biggest bases in the world for America.
I think he's too smart for that, but I tell you that having really, now that I'm podcasting and I'm doing a little studying, and, it wasn't really Putin who started this war, Ukraine. It's America.
I agree.
We violated 12 different agreements.
I agree.
And we made deals and said we will. When they broke up the Soviet Union, it stops here, and then we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
I agree.
And at some point, Putin says, you're already in my backyard. You're in my territory. You violated every agreement. Fuck you. We're coming at you now. And so, it's just amazing how nobody in America fully really appreciates that we're the problem in many of these places.
I agree.
We're so aggressive and imperial. I have a question, though, a big question. My understanding, based on discussion with you today, it was a lot of nations of people against nations of people, like the Serbians were against the Bosnians and the Albanians. I mean, but
they're the common denominator.
But it wasn't. It wasn't religion. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it about religion? Was it Christian and Muslim?
It was in the aspect. Okay. And no offense to my Croatians and my Bosnians. They speak the same language. Albanians don't speak. We're not Slavic, brother. Our language is very ancient.
I didn't know that. I'm shocked by that. I thought you guys were
not Slavic. No, we're the original inhabitants.
You're more European, I guess.
Brother, go look at the studies, the DNA test.
I believe it. No,
crazy,
I believe you.
It's insane. And our language, like I'll give you an example. Like in the Albanian language, if I said to you, Afro means come close. We still speak this language. If I said to you, my brother, dite nemir, it means have a good day. Or dite buker, it's a beautiful day. Aferdita, when the day draws near or dawn. You're taught that that's the goddess of love in the Greek religion. We still speak the language. I have 20 aunts named Aphrodita. We speak the language. I
understand. That's really...
But because our history never got out there, how are you going to know?
That's the whole thing, exactly.
And we've always been the loser in history. And what makes me upset about the Western Europeans is we saved their ass time after time. We fought for Western Europe. Our national hero statue stands in the middle of Italy to stop the horde of the Turks. And look at how they've repaid us. Time and time again, they betrayed us.
It's that kind of world we live in. Let me ask you.
America didn't.
There is no.
If it wasn't for America, we wouldn't be here.
If I met 1,000 Albanians, would they all be Muslim? Or would they be half Christian Muslim? Are they different?
We are the most tolerant. I swear to God, brother. The most tolerant people in the world. And I would include America in that, but America doesn't have that history always.
No, not at all.
The most tolerant people in all of Europe, where Europe, they were killing each other left and right. Protestant, Catholic, Huguenots, they were wiping each other out for centuries in Europe. Albania, never, ever did we fight each other over religion. We respect each other. We're the only country in Europe that saved all of our Jews that came during the Holocaust. And we're very proud of that. It didn't matter what religion they are. These are human beings that are trying to escape terror.
Listen, I get it. With guys first.
And that's another story that's never told. I mean, where's Hollywood? You know why they won't tell that story, brother? Because it goes against the agenda. That a Muslim and a Jew are actually friends. That Muslims and Jews have actually been friends and closer to each other than any other faith in the world.
Thousands of years.
And it was really the Christians who were always persecuting the Jews. That's a fact.
Not just the Jews. Look at the Crusades. I mean, they...
But that's what I'm saying. But this modern history now...
you have people that are trying to accomplish certain things, agendas, and they use the media any way that they can. And that's,
it's just heartbreaking.
It's great to meet somebody like yourself who's so aware of it. You're 25 years younger than me. And one of the things that I find, I'm 68 years old, and because I'm a stock market guy, I'm a news junkie since the day I started in this business, which is my whole life, because everything and anything in the news is used to alter fortune, if you know what I'm saying, to maneuver markets, etc. And it's what's been really interesting for me, especially since I'm podcasting now, because now I'm talking to everybody. I'm talking to so many people. I go out, I'm wrecking all these different things. It's like most guys your age are a little bit indoctrinated. You don't really get it. You don't really, because maybe you're Albanian, because you've witnessed your family and the persecution and the nonsense and the bullshit and the fake narratives and agendas. You're really well versed in your history. So that allows you to see the bigger picture of, now you question everything, right? If they just don't get the facts straight on anything that you know for sure, that you have to start questioning everything that these people are telling us. And as an older guy, who's been, really following news. It's astounding to me how many guys your age. I mean, smart guys. I mean, guys that are millionaires, guys that are successful, guys that are with it. If you met them, they're hip, everything else, conversational. They're put together well, but they really have no fucking clue because they have been just maneuvered in such a way, and it's crazy. And that's what I think one of the great things about what you do. This podcasting is like a generational thing. It's like you're delivering. Like if you would be so flattered if you knew what my team said about you to me, because they watched you. They said, this guy's fucking real. He's straight. You could talk to this guy. You could chop it up. I mean, this is, some people don't want to talk about this. The intro takes, I got 10 minutes of coaching, what not to do, what not to say, stay away from here, stay away from there, etc. And I love that you're open to it. And, I've seen you talk about your faith, and I just love that as well, because, it's,
ignorance is the problem, brother. Like
with everything,
it's the true enemy. I think you can agree because, you have more wisdom than I do. It really is. It's from that ignorance we have hatred and, racism and all these things where, and it's just, to me, it doesn't need to be this way, man. The hardest thing I had to learn going through that trauma of losing 28 family members.
It's crazy.
People I played with every summer, my cousin, his village, Albanians are close, like my cousin, their cousin, so we have very big families. And, my aunt's husband, I was extremely close to him. So losing him was, I remember exactly the moment where I was when I got the phone call. I was in the Hotel Alcott in Cape May, New Jersey. It was summer, and I get a phone call, and my mom's like, Dean's dead. I'm like, what do you mean, Dean? They're like, so I have been through many traumatic things in my life, and I'm trying to be a beacon of hope where, first of all, there's no reason why Christians, Muslims, and Jews should be killing each other.
No reason.
All three religions believe in Moses. All three religions believe in the 10 Commandments. Period.
Well, we believe in one God. We believe in one God. Yeah. We just call them different. We got different names for them.
But not even.
You know what I'm saying? Even. It's just like it's
because if you break it down into Hebrew and Arabic and Aramaic, they're all cousin languages.
All the same. It comes from the same.
So my first video that went viral was about, look at how ignorant you are. Like, remember, now I was underneath the World Trade when it got hit. I was in the E train. I was going to Pace University. I thought I was going to be a big shot on Wall Street, but that didn't happen. I ended up working for Chase, making $30,000 a year as a banker, personal banker. I tried doing the stockbroker thing, but I caught the end of that era. Right? I caught right before the collapse in 2008. I was doing stock over the phone. I mean, what a hard job that is. I mean, you come from that world.
I'm one of the greatest that ever did it, just so you know. So it makes me.
They didn't even let me sit down. I was working for some kind of franchise boutique, JP Turner, out of South New Jersey. Yeah. They wouldn't even let me sit down. I'm like, what the fuck? They're paying me $50 a week. I mean, people don't understand what we go through. Sales is the greatest thing in the world, period.
Yeah.
You want to change your life?
Yeah.
You want excitement? You want to learn how to... I wouldn't be the speaker I am without all that experience.
That training, that sales training, yeah.
It was amazing. It changed my life. I had courage, but I didn't know how to be as effective as a speaker. It's such an important skill to have in life. You're going to live a very mediocre life if you don't learn how to communicate and express and put some passion when you speak to people, because people are tired of fake and boring and
authentic. Authentic is the word. That's what I love about you, bro. You're an authentic. You're real. Although, what is this name, Bek Lover?
So that name is a nickname I got from my mom's brother. I call him my brother because people don't understand the dynamic of the relationship. He was my uncle, but he was only 10 years older than me. So we were extremely close. He raised me, I was over his house every day. He was down the road. He took me all over the world. And when I was younger, I was dressing like an idiot with the hip hop culture. I was wearing these big pants, and he started making fun of me. And he's like, yo, Bek Lover, always undercover. He was making fun of me. I was like, I kind of like the sound of that. So I'm in middle school. I go back to middle school. I'm like, guys, call me Bek Lover. And people thought it was a joke, but now the whole world calls me that. So I got that name from him. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. I lost him in 2032. He died in a car accident. He was only 42 years old. God. And as much pain as I'd been through in my life, losing him was like losing my family overseas and what I went through on September 11th put together times 10.
Crazy.
Because this was someone that had an impact in my life at every moment, every turn. You know, that one guy you call every minute, hey, this happened, that happened. Hey, I need $5,000. Hey, can we take a trip? Like, you know, your best friend, your uncle, your blood.
Whatever you need.
It was the first time in my life I felt
alone.
Completely alone.
Yeah, I get it.
And I got no one to lean on anymore in that aspect.
I'm thinking that you were some sort of like real Romeo in bed, and that the
that's what everyone thinks.
It's good for people to think that, by the way. It's not a bad thing, you know.
But it's more, I like also the association of like love, man.
It's all good.
Like, love is the most powerful emotion, I think. It's more powerful than fear. Because if you love someone, you'll give your life for them. That's why a mom will jump in front of a train to save her child. Right. Like, love is such a powerful emotion that you can even forgive people that have done you wrong. It's a very hard thing to learn. It took me a long time to learn. Like I said, I don't hate all Serbians. Some of them, they still wish me death. When they hear me giving these lectures, they get mad that I tell our version of history.
Just because you're an Albanian.
Just because I'm Albanian. I tell them, listen, man, like, we really don't have to be enemies.
Crazy.
Like, accept our right to exist. Come visit the country whenever you want. No, there's Serbs that still live there. Like, we're not, like, we didn't do this to you. You did this to us. This is all documented. We weren't asking to be independent. You were beating us, imprisoning us, killing us, torturing us, taxing us without representation. Apartheid system. We weren't even allowed to work. My cousins went to school in their house. They would rotate homes because they weren't allowed to go to school.
It sounds like being Jewish. I mean, I hate to say it, but
during that time, yeah, it would have been like being in Germany.
People want to just cut my head off because I'm Jewish. I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world. I mean,
that's another thing too, man. And I've said this too. You know, I love my Jewish brothers and sisters. I have so many. First of all, I'm alive because of a Jewish woman. My uncle married a Jewish woman. She brought him to America. She was from Wisconsin. That's how he ended up in Texas. Then they moved to Texas. Wow. Then they made the paperwork for my dad. He came to America, met my mom briefly in New York. Back then, they arranged marriages because there wasn't a lot of Albanians. You just, hey, it was one of you, one of us. Okay, that's how I ended up becoming alive. So my first cousins are half Jewish.
So cool.
I went to Pace University, brother.
I get it.
70% of the school is Russian Jew.
I get it.
All my boys, shout out to Oleg, Alex Kaufman, all of you. I love you. Here's what I want to say, because it's breaking my heart to see what's going on in the world and the backlash that people like you or just a regular Jew might be experiencing because people don't agree with what's going on over there and the response from that government. You cannot put all people in one box. I did not agree with what America did in Iraq. I did not agree with that invasion. I think it was a lie. We shouldn't have been there. There was no weapons. So 1 million Iraqis are dead.
Right.
Now, if I was Iraqi and I lost my son, my daughter, my this, my that, a missile, a drone, or whatever, or an insurgent, because that insurgent wouldn't have been there if it wasn't destabilized. Either way, I'm blaming the U.S., right? But what that Iraqi doesn't know is that, hey, man, I'm on your side. I didn't agree with what my country did. So my comment to all people is, I understand we're seeing these images online. We're seeing what's going on there, and some of the response has been, in my opinion, no offense, excessive, beyond what I think is justifiable. No one's defending what happened on October 7th. But the response, I mean, brother, to me has been extremely excessive. And it's just, I think we're at the point there's never going to ever be peace there, ever. I think just wipe one side out or whatever. The bottom line is, that's not you.
No.
You don't represent that government.
I have nothing to do
with
that.
That doesn't represent all Israelis. There's tons of Israelis who are against the response. Like, they're protesting in the streets. So to put all people, any people, into one box and hate them because of their religion, their race, where they come from, because of the actions of another government, that is ignorance in itself. You're not being true to being just and honorable. You can't put all people in one box, and especially not for the actions of a government.
Listen, savage is savage. There's no way that any human being can explain what happened that day and the actions of these people that just raped and beheaded and killed kids. They still got hostages there. They're still holding hostages. They're holding American hostages.
Yeah, but a lot of those reports were not verified, especially with the sexual.
No, they have absolute lockdown proof of everything. They have gone out of the way to. I don't want to get into this whole thing with it. It's just listen, I was in prison. I went to prison. I was in a prison. Then I was in 2 prison camps.
And what did they get you for?
They said I manipulated the London Stock Exchange. While I was in London, with no Americans
Oh,
involved. Well, I was actually physically in London with no Americans involved. And in London, they said I did nothing wrong. I followed the law. But a couple of prosecutors in Manhattan were determined to get me because somebody put a hit on me because I was a disruptor in the business. And I showed the world how you can go public in America, but not have any involvement, without paying a $5 million toll. With more capital, I showed every advantage that you could, this is your story today, but I did something no one had ever done in 350 years, and I raised about $1 billion. And I did it again 2 years later because some guy said to me in front of a room full of CEOs, if you do it once, we applaud you, but maybe you got lucky. Who knows, maybe the timing. But if you do something twice that nobody's ever done, now we realize you know something that we don't know. So I did it a second time, even though it was unnecessary, just because I had like a little bit of a stick up my ass, if you know what I'm saying. I felt like I had something to prove. But
you did it 2 times.
I did it. I took myself public twice on the London Stock Exchange, and then 200 other companies followed the footprint that I created. And according to many some very, very connected, smart attorneys and bankers, they said there were banks in Lower Manhattan that came to the conclusion that because I created this footprint, it cost America, Lower Manhattan, the banks, et cetera, Goldman Sachs, all these big names we know, over $100 billion in fees and trading profits. And it probably did. But I'll tell you,
Welcome.
I went to prison. And
But that doesn't sound like you deserve to go to prison.
I shouldn't have even been charged. I didn't break the law. I broke no law. I'm just telling you.
That's
but
crazy,
people were, I was screaming lawfare 15 years ago. I'm the season 9 finale of American Greed. In 2015, I got a letter in prison stating my case was deemed the most important case of the year in the federal system in America. It's all bullshit. And if you watch American Greed, it's called The Sky's the Limit, season 9. It's the finale. You'll say, I don't understand what this guy did wrong. That's what everybody says, because they didn't do anything wrong. And the London Stock Exchange flew to my trial and testified.
That's crazy.
And said I did nothing wrong. But
so
you see, let me
crazy.
just say it like this. 15 years ago, people still believed in the system a little bit. After what they did to Trump, a 77-year-old ex-president billionaire, all of a sudden is charged with 92 felonies.
Out of nowhere. Bogus.
That right away in front of the whole world, they did this. And then they tried to kill him afterwards. But they did what they did. It just opened the curtain and said, you see, it's always been a scam, but now we're not even afraid to show you anymore. That's the problem. See, when they did it to me, it was they tried to make it look real.
Spin it in the papers.
The whole
blah, blah,
thing.
blah.
People know it's a
campaign.
scam. Now people know the system's a scam for real.
No one trusts the system at all.
The system is now so corrupt, it's showing itself. And it's saying, you see? And did you hear what Jamie Raskin, the governor, a Democrat governor, recently said when Trump is making deals with India and Japan for the tariffs and all that? He said, we're going to remember you. Anyone that makes a deal with Trump and cooperates with Trump, we're going to remember you after this presidency, because this will be the last time there'll ever be a president that doesn't come from our side. I mean, this is what Jamie Raskin said.
Oh, that's crazy.
We're holding you accountable if you do business with Trump.
Well, he's got 3 years to fix it, but I hope he does.
Well,
man.
it's to me, it's staggering that the wizard pulled away the curtain and said, you see, I'm the wizard and this is what I'm doing. And I don't really give a shit if you know, because there's nothing you can do about it. Because we probably control we control the military, we control, this World Economic Forum, all these different things.
My question is, we were at 7,000 points and change 2008 to 9 when the collapse happened, the Great Recession.
We went down to 6,600 on the Dow.
We're up to 40-something thousand at one point. Now we're at 39.
Right.
In your humble opinion, not giving financial advice, how inflated do you think this market is? Will there be a crash, and how bad of a crash do you think it will be? Do you think it will be the worst ever? I mean, do you think there's going to be a correction? I mean, what do you think? What's your opinion?
I've called the whole thing almost to the day. Brad Lee asked me the same question in July of 24. I told him Trump was going to win. He was going to win in a landslide. I said this in 100 places, but dropping bombs, you could go, we released some clips of that with over 9 million views. Truly viral. I said, it doesn't matter who wins. The market has been set up to detonate. And the funny thing is, and I said, there'll be a little romance, a little honeymoon when Trump first gets in. And at the end of the first quarter, you're going to start to see things correct in a way you've never seen before. And it's all orchestrated. It's all highly organized and arranged. The Democrats created what you call a debt bomb. They spent money. They printed money they didn't have. They stole billions and billions. I think that's still going to come out, that United States senators got millions of dollars wired to their checking accounts. They don't even care. They didn't even try to hide it at some point. Things are so corrupt and so broken during towards the end of Biden's administration. And if you saw a dozen eggs go from like $4 to $10 during Biden's presidency, people don't know he killed 100 million chickens on top of it. It was all organized.
100 million chickens, but they still made record profits, supposedly 5 times. How is that
because
possible?
They take care of their own. But what I want to say is this: what the stock market is hugely overinflated. Never before in human history has so much capital been concentrated in the hands of a few. So the idea is to really tank this market. And what happens when you have all that money? They control trillions. Blackstone, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. They control.
Want to have catastrophic consequences on fiat currency?
They're going to be able to acquire all the world's assets for 5 cents on the dollar. And they're in the process of doing that. So the fires in L.A., you think that was a coincidence? All set up by Gavin Newsom. All arranged, all set up.
I don't know you from a hole in the wall.
Yep.
And I like the way you think, bro.
I'm just telling you. I mean, I have people that come to me and share things with me.
You think that you don't? Here's one of my. You don't think it's a plan to do that on purpose to push us all into a digital era? Because that's what I think.
Okay, so in China they've already done that. I saw one of your clips or posts about yes, they are trying. That's why the electric cars. That's why the digital currency, because what they want to be able to do. That's how you really control someone. I could push a switch. Now you have no access to money, and now you have no access to transportation. I got you.
I don't have to shut you off.
One, but it's not a big deal. It's one button. It's one button, and that's why Musk was this decorated guy and invented the electric car. Pretty much.
He's a plant.
Now they can't stand him because he is turning out to be a legit guy that really cares about mankind to some extent. Neuralink, kids that were born blind now can see, robotic arms. He's doing amazing things for mankind. He doesn't need it to do all this shit, to build rockets that can go to Mars, but he sees what's happening. You have people that are trying to stave off.
Part of that agenda, though? You don't think he's a part of the agenda to push us into a crypto reality?
No, we would already be there if that was the case. It would be over. Already, it would be game over, just so you know. It would be game over. And the crypto reality is to avoid what the sort of left has been aiming for, the WEF. They've been trying to establish, the Bitcoin, the blockchain is a way so you and I can move money and the government cannot follow that. They have no control.
How can they not follow over a universal ledger, though?
It's decentralized. The problem is going to be when, the United States moves to a centralized currency. That's going to be a big problem. But the idea of the way it works today is to avoid. So like Russia's able to buy things and sell things and get paid and avoid the sanctions of the United States using Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. And that's what they've been doing. Arms sales, guys that are moving, half these arm brokers work for governments. The government can't be seen attached to some sort of, let's say,
organization or
sort of, getting weapons to Sepoya. You know what I mean? So they put one of the guys on it, and you see movies made about all this stuff. But I want to talk about you, Bek, for a minute, because you go from this kid, this son of Albanian immigrants, American, New York City guy, which is, so close to my heart. I never thought I'd leave New York City. and the only reason I left was because I went to do prison time. I went, and I was actually living in Trump Tower for several years, and then moved my family down here, some business interests, and did my time in Miami. I was fortunate enough that I had the resources to arrange for that. Not an easy thing to accomplish, by the way. But and now you're this big podcast who I think is the fucking man, and I love what the way you share, so openly, not afraid to tackle controversy. But tell us about you. You went to Pace. How'd you get into the nightlife?
So I went to Pace University, went to study finance, started going out in the late 90s, got to see places like the Sound Factory and,
cool.
Webster Hall and Limelight and,
Yep.
That type of stuff, Roxy. And then, college, man. I mean, I didn't need a campus. New York City was my campus. That's why I didn't mind going to Pace. I had the time. And that school wasn't a party school. No. But I turned it into one. I can tell you that much.
I believe you.
I had the time of my life down there. I ended up going out. And then some of my fellow classmates were also promoters. But also, like I said, my older brother, my mom's brother, I mean, he was a little older than me. So he was already out on the scene. He had money. He had connections. So I was getting into places that no 17-year-old could get into or 18-year-old. So I'd come back and say, hey, man, I hung out with this one last year. Yeah, okay. My friends didn't even believe me. Oh, I hung out with this one last year. Yeah, sure you did. All these celebrities and stuff. So it was and I'm pretty sure because you come from that world where, listen, the early 2000s, late 90s, it was all Wall Street.
Rocking.
These guys were everywhere with their sharp suits, and it was very seductive to me. I was like, I want to be one of these guys, So, yeah, I started in nightlife basically just by hanging out, being a socialite. But then I realized, like, damn, I can make money from this too, just for partying. So I start throwing parties. I'm making money. I'm having fun. And, women, everything you would think of a young man. Like life became like a dream. I barely went to class. I finished in 4 years miraculously. I didn't want to. When I graduated college, I cried for 3 days. I swear to God, 3 days. I swear to God, I was so sad because I knew reality was coming for me. So I turn around and leave that world to go into finance, and at the bottom of finance, right? You're working as a personal banker. Okay, you're making garbage. And I'm like, I was making more money partying, having fun, not taking orders from anybody. And I'm sitting here in a bank rotting every day. I was miserable. I went from Bank of America to Chase, from Chase to HSBC. And then I plunged into the world of commission-only sales, and that's when life got real interesting. That's when I realized, learn how to sell, man. That's where the money's at.
Anything.
You think a salary is a good thing? No, salary is all you're ever going to make,
Salary is a way of enslaving you.
If I listen to my old man, I'd still be a branch manager somewhere probably. Making $100,000. $100,000 before tax is nothing in New York City.
Nothing. It's nothing anywhere. I hate to say anywhere in America today, it's nothing.
Yeah, today I know.
New York, you got to be kidding me. 100 a month is not even,
It's crazy. So, yeah, man. I mean, I was always very social, always out, literally Monday through Sunday, out every night. So once in a while, I take Sundays off. Sometimes I take a Wednesday off.
Cover.
And, I just, it was very seductive, man. You realize, listen, even in your day, there's only so many hot spots. You're going to see the same people. You kind of become like a nightlife family,
Yep.
Eventually, they're inviting you to have drinks. You get drinks. I was never into the other stuff because I knew that I would like it.
No drugs?
I was very scared.
No drugs?
Nothing hard. No, never. I was always scared, man.
Okay.
I knew I would like it. I'd seen people go down.
I do. Do you smoke any weed or no?
No.
You saw the cocaine. You saw the cocaine days and the ecstasy days. And all
I
that.
saw coke left and right. Ecstasy kind of started dying out in the early 2000s because all those people started dropping in Peter Gation's clubs. They were dropping flies, going into K-holes. So then people kind of went back to cocaine and weed and drinking. But it was still around. I mean, Sound Factory, people would pop hits of ecstasy and dance for 3 days.
They still do it at some places, I'm told, but
Well, now, it's back again,
MDMA,
but now it's in a different form. Yeah, it's Molly, right? It's in a powder form. It's not a pill like a Mitsubishi Transformer.
So that wasn't your thing, and you didn't deal or anything like that to make extra money because you were in the nightlife.
I was always spiritual, man. I actually felt guilty that I was going out and drinking. I always had faith in me. I don't come from a religious family. I kind of went on my own journey at a very young age. As a matter of fact, when I started becoming spiritual, my family's like, what are you doing? You're becoming an Arab? Or, they were, Albanians are very secular
I
people.
get it.
Okay. They believe religion is a very private thing, respect everyone's faith, and you don't need to be so vocal about it, But in today's world, just seeing so much ignorance, which I know only leads to bloodshed. I try to be this voice of like, man, you believe whatever you want, man. Like we really, and these faiths don't teach us to wipe each other out. People want to blame. I love when people go, if we didn't have religion. No, it's not religion. It's because we don't follow religion. Religion says don't kill people. Right. Don't take what's not yours. Don't steal. Don't hurt people. Treat better people than you treat yourselves. This is what every religion teaches. Hinduism, all of them.
Stuff. Yep.
So how is it religion's fault? Oh, I don't care what some dictator or some king or some sultan did, with their authority or these people were not following the tenements of these faiths. Correct. The tenements and the Abrahamic faith of the 10 Commandments, period. So how is it religion? No, it's a lack of religion. It's a lack of understanding.
All right. So we talked about earlier, ignorance really is the root of mankind's, evils and failures. That's what I think is just an inability to communicate. It's an inability to communicate.
It's interesting because even if you look at it from the Islamic perspective, the Prophet Muhammad could not read and write. He was illiterate. Peace be upon him. So why would the first word that came down in that book be a commandment for him to read? And he said, I can't read. Read. I cannot read. Read in the name of your Lord, who created you from a clot of blood in the womb of your mother. Read, for God teaches humanity that which it does not know.
Right.
That was the first verse of the Quran. A man who couldn't read and write in a cave commanded to read, from their perspective. So think about the importance of seeking knowledge.
Correct. Scripture. I get it.
One of the commandments, one of the quotes in Islam is, he who reads in the eyes of God is handsome. And the Arabs were an illiterate people before he came, very illiterate. They were the most backwards, ignorant people of the entire world at that time.
Correct.
And, people say, if you want any proof of his influence, I would say, look at what they turned into after him. They went from being the most illiterate, backwards, burying their daughters alive. Because they had a rule in pre-Islamic Arabia, if you had a daughter, before you had a son, you'd go to the desert and throw her in a hole. You could not have a daughter until you had a son first. How crazy is that? This is who they were. He took them from that, so they turned into a superpower, changed the world, mathematics, algebra, medicine, the impact, thousands of inventions, right? So they went from so that's the power of reading, brother.
It's organizing. And I had the privilege being inside the system for so many years. I actually lived with a couple of Muslims and people that chose Islam as their faith.
Inside.
Oh yeah, inside. And I actually read the whole Quran. And I studied it with them and discussed it, and we had a whole, I was looking for my own answers. So I studied, the Old Testament, the New Testament. I read the Quran. I actually read Taoism and Hindi, and
you went down all of them. Yeah.
Anywhere I could get my hands on something, I wanted to use that time.
Productive.
Yeah, I really did. It's funny. I went through my life saying, because I love to read. That's a gift that I got from my dad. He was a reader. He was a member of a book club. So we, we're always exposed to that. And all my life, as I went through life, because I was always very aggressive, very ambitious, I was chasing money and things and the scene and, all the shiny stuff that I know better now. But I used to say, one day I'm going to read Hemingway. One day I'm going to read Chaucer. One day I'm going to read, Longfellow. One day I'm going to read Shakespeare. One day I'm going to read the Quran. One day, and you know what? God was listening to me. I never had time. Next, I get 144 months sentence, and I end up doing 9 years, 4 months in the system. And one thing every place had was some sort of library, and some sort of chapel. And so
when you look back at it now, blessing or curse? You're taking the Joseph route here, or no?
Well, here's the thing. I'll be candid with you. So I don't look at it as a blessing or as a curse. I've studied enough scripture, that God blesses you and He judges you. But then, if you study Kabbalah, 8 books in, that's 10,000 pages later, He says there are no judgments; they're all blessings. So I believe that our stories are being written. I know that God has blessed me in certain ways with certain things, and I think a lot of the hard lessons I've received in my life are turned out to be blessings. Because I'm still a guy, I'm a man of flesh and blood. I'm of this world. I'm human, even though I'm really a spiritual being going through a human journey. I am going through a human journey. So to me, it was a curse. It was a pain. The government took over $60 million from me.
That's crazy.
The opportunity, the loss of time with my
To
children.
me, it's
How
just
can anybody say
amazing
that's a
that you
blessing?
have done anything illegal, and to have that done to you is just shows you the corruption that seeped into all facets of our lives here in America. It's just crazy, man.
But, it's the same thing what they did to Trump. Rather than go into my story, just say, do you really think he committed 92 felonies? 77-year-old Donald Trump. Really? Is that what you really think?
I think the worst he could have ever done is maybe close some corporations and not paid some subcontractors.
Oh, he did all that. And of course he did all that. All these business type things and
Shark, bloodthirsty businessman, but nothing illegal. Nothing illegal.
He might have done some illegal things, but remember, he was
maybe a couple of envelopes under the table.
I'm sure he did plenty of things, but you know what? He was never charged with any of it. But all of a sudden, he decides to run for president, and they were threatened by him. Now all of a sudden,
and his buddies, Chuck Schumer, and this one and that, they used to suck his.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And I think they're all going to be. I think it's going to be revealed, and I think the evidence is going to be.
All I ask God to do is just show the American people the truth. I think our country's been taken for a ride.
Oh, worse than that.
It's saddening to me. I'm embarrassed to even say I'm American. I never felt like this before when I think of the world and everything that's going on. You go to Europe, they look at us, they hate us now. Everyone hates us.
And they're laughing at us. That's even worse.
I'm not talking about just Middle East. I'm talking about
the whole world.
Everywhere.
I've been saying this for 25 years because I do business all around the world. And I was very aware of what people thought about America. We are sold this bill of goods every day in our news and our media and our newspapers, etc. And the whole world has been laughing at us. And we're told that this is the greatest and the best and all this and that. I go to many countries that are living much better. People are living better. The airports are brand new. The roads are fantastic. Yeah. The bridges are what? The trains go 200 miles an hour. I mean, we are not only $36 trillion in debt. The country's fucking falling apart. So where's the fucking money? That's what I want to know. Listen, it's one thing if we had all new airports and new roads and new hospitals and everything was mint. Our country is third world. We're falling apart and we're $36 trillion in debt. The interest on our debt is now $1 trillion a year, more than any line, more than our entire military budget. This is what they.
So how
do
we get
this is what they handed Donald Trump. So you understand?
Without pain,
a debt bomb. They handed Donald Trump a bomb and said, "Go fuck yourself." Now, his first term in office, he was just starting to get into this whole thing. He started to recognize it, to feel comfortable, but they would just betray every step of the way. The deep state, the bureaucracy,
attacking.
And
these people don't understand if what's coming for us gets its way, and it's on our fucking doorstep.
It's right here.
If what's coming for us wins, we have a very small window here.
Yeah, we're dead.
Okay, you're not going to care if you have money.
This is the last electable president, just so you know. This is the last president.
I've said he's the last president ever. I don't even think he'd get into office, to be honest. I was saying Biden was, but I think he's definitely the last president.
Electable president. It's all going to be.
And I think JFK was definitely the last president.
Yeah, we got real problems. But the fact that you come from the Albanian story, that's what leads me to believe why you get it, why you're capable of getting it. Because no matter how much you're indoctrinated here, you know the truth about what happened to you and your family over there.
That's what led me on my quest for knowledge. How did the world get like this? Why did this happen? Why did they hate us? Why did September 11 happen? What really happened? So you go down these wormholes, and you got to shift through a lot of bullshit because there's a lot of bullshit too. That's why I always say, please check where you get your information.
Correct. Well, let me ask you a question. So my team did put together some questions. Most of it we've covered a lot of different things, but I just want to talk to you about, you did grow up in sort of like a tight-knit, traditional, I don't know if culture is the right word.
Very old school
Yeah, yeah,
Albanian.
yeah. But then
Very, very traditional.
how did that clash with like what was going on in the nightlife world that you later, I'm told
I
dominated?
didn't go home for weeks. I didn't go home for weeks. I, turned 18. I didn't have a dorm.
Right.
Okay. I ended up giving my car back to my old man in part of my college years because I didn't want it. It was like a way for him to get me home. I was like, fuck this, I'm going out.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I started by jumping out of my window because I had a bedroom in the basement. I would jump out the window and jump into my friends' cars and go to the city. Or my other friend, Val, I would sleep over his house and I would just stay there for weeks, man. Sometimes I would just turn my socks inside out, my underwear, and go back. I mean, I had a fucking blast.
It's good being young, right? It's good being young. Right.
Oh, man. It's I always understood, it's funny. I always understood like milestones in life. Like, I'll probably never experience this again. Or, the war taught me that. You'll see someone, you never get to see them again. When you lose things, you start to appreciate the things you have.
Crazy. I get it. That's what prison did for me. That's what prison did for me.
You don't understand what
I
freedom
understand
is
freedom now that nobody.
Right. So I know you get it.
But it's crazy.
But a lot of people out here are so miserable, my brother. They have all these blessings in their life.
They don't even know it. Yeah.
And they don't even know it until what? Until they lose it.
Yep.
They're like, I wish I didn't complain. And I learned that lesson also the hard way when I lost my brother, God rest his soul, Nicky Knuckles. That's his nickname.
I love it.
Not because he was some gangster, but that was his nickname. And you lose certain things in life and you realize that, I lost a lot of time after his passing because I was so sad. And then I realized, man, I just lost 3 years of my life.
Right.
Because I couldn't handle what happened to me. So you start to learn, that sometimes you have to override emotion with logic, which is very difficult to do when you have a broken heart. I can only imagine what the hell you went through, man. So, to not have done anything wrong, to be at the top of what people dream of having, brother. That kind of money and influence and family, and you did everything by the book. And hey, if you found a crack, you found a crack. You didn't do anything wrong. That's the beauty of it, right? The edge. So, I could only imagine, man, what it is to be from there and then thrown into, like, that's just fucking, I'm sorry you had to go through that.
When you talked about your uncle, I think it was your uncle that did 28 years inside, or your great grandfather. I mean, I felt the connection though when you were telling that story to me. That's how crazy what I went through. Because my shit started in 2006. One day, I'd love to come on your podcast, share my story.
No, I'm definitely.
I think you'll be blown away. But
I definitely want you on my podcast.
I want to talk to you about this now. Especially post 9/11. You're a New York boy. I'm a New York boy. I feel a kinship already. But let's face it. I'm a Jew. You're a Muslim. New York City, the World Trade Center, all these Saudi Arabian hijackers, whatever you call them, that toppled these buildings. I mean, did you ever feel pressure to stay silent? About your heritage, your religious background, etc. Especially post 9/11.
But what I did notice was a lot of ignorance.
Oh, tremendous. There was Islamophobia big time in New York.
Yeah, who's sad? Who bore the brunt of that? Sikhs. They're not even Muslim.
I understand. I get it.
Because they wrap in the turban.
Correct. The Indians. I get it. Yep. They got killed. They got crushed. I know.
Taxi cab drivers.
There's morons. You have morons. Yeah.
No, but to me, I just, listen, I have my reservations about that day. I really do. I don't think we know.
Of course we do not. Are you kidding me? That'll take 50 more years.
I think a lot of people are in there. I don't think everyone should shift their blame. People trying to blame certain countries in the Middle East. I think there was a lot of people that knew what was going on. I think a lot of different government agencies were involved, and I think it was all to just destabilize the Middle East, man. I really, truly believe that. I don't know if I believe the official story anymore. What really changed it for me, brother, was building number 7, man.
I understand.
After seeing that footage, I mean...
I get it.
Because I was all gung-ho. Remember, I was there. My heart was swollen. I was crying. I remember being in Howard Beach, man. I walked all the way from... Because I walked over the bridge as the buildings collapsed. Because I was at school that day, and I was going to pick up my girlfriend at the time. I ended up on Cross Bay Boulevard in Queens.
I know it very well.
In some motel. And I remember just being numb, man. Because I just... How do you process that? In real life, it's different watching on TV. That's shocking enough.
Crazy.
But to be there, you were there.
I had an office right down the block. I was in 99 Wall Street at the time. My whole crew was there. I was on a business deal in San Francisco. I was
Damn, you
literally,
decided to
I was trapped there for 10 days because they closed the skies. Nobody
be
could fly,
grounded.
and I had a guy with me. I made him come with me. We had a big to do. He was my chief technology officer, and I was doing a technology deal, and I just needed advice. I needed somebody to be there and witness what we were dealing with, and because I was about to make a big deal, and it involves millions of dollars, years of my life. I wanted my guy, and he's fighting me. He was getting a certification that day in one of the towers. He would have been like on the 80th floor of the first tower, and he woke me up. I'm in a hotel room. I'm fast asleep because it was like 6, before 7 in the morning. We're on the road. Banging on my door. I open the door. I thought somebody died, which is true. He's in there in his underwear, no shirt, just his underwear. And he says, "You saved my life, bro. You saved my life." And he starts hugging me. I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And that was the 9/11 story. And then I had a new baby, and my wife was home with the baby, and all these battleships were going by. We had a beach house right on the water outside of New York City, and an apartment in the city, and these battleships and aircraft carriers are all going to New York Harbor. No one knew what was happening. They thought being invaded.
I thought it was World War III.
I did too. I said, I actually rented a Winnebago because you couldn't get a car. And I was going to drive across the country with my CTO. And, but then everybody said, "But you better not do anything right now because who knows what's going on." So just wild story.
Yeah, I didn't get home for a few days later, and my family didn't know if I was okay until later.
Oh my God. Because I think the phones went down.
Question, when you were down on Wall Street, did you ever used to go to a place on Chambers called Acapella for lunch?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
It
does sound very familiar. And how about Scores? How about Scores? Are you familiar with Scores, that strip club?
Of course. Shout out to Big John.
I was told it's all Albanians for a long time.
Well, a lot of them, like managers.
Correct.
And stuff,
yeah. That's for the first time I heard, all these Albanians took over Scores, and there's beatings, stabbings, and payoffs.
I mean, I don't know about all that.
Right.
But, I know that they worked
yes,
there.
Yes.
The ones I knew were not beating anyone.
A kid that worked for me, the last time I was there for somebody's party, is a guy, Xavier. Xavier, if you're still around, kid from Staten Island. He worked for me for a couple of years, and then, you lose track. I had a lot of guys. And he was like the manager at Scores, running the whole restaurant and this whole thing. He was, "Let me hook you guys up. I know you guys. I got you," the whole thing. A very nice guy. And I don't know, I kept hearing the word Albanian at the time, and that you guys are just fierce. But when I was in prison, I heard about a group called the Chechens.
Oh, they're very.
Everybody's afraid of the Chechens, just
Very strong people, and they dance like no one, man. Those guys will do a somersault in place.
These are like killers, though, according to.
They'll literally like flip in the air,
right,
and land.
Even the prisoners were afraid of the Chechens,
they're like white ninjas.
Yeah, like trained ninja type guys, fighters.
I think they have some of our I think they have some of our DNA. I don't know if they've done anything, because remember, this was all under the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, I get it.
And there's a lot of resemblance. Because remember, eventually we ended up becoming very high-profile people in the Ottoman Empire.
I didn't know that.
We had a lot of pashas, they were called.
Yes.
So you had an Albanian that was ruling over Greece at the time under the Ottoman Empire. So that's where some of this animosity comes from, too. Because once they beat us, we're like, all right, well, might as well.
It's crazy. All right, listen, I got a question. This was my favorite one. That you've interviewed everyone from porn stars to political commentators. What do you think about America's moral compass? Is it completely broken? Is it evolving? Is it healable? I mean,
so I would say there's definitely a direct cut down the middle.
Yeah.
The left and right are really left and right now. I think it's like true to itself. I think it's been refreshing over the last couple of years with all this. The only good thing I've seen out of all this is there is a lot more people that actually have morals than I thought. When you live in New York City, it's hard to see morality anywhere.
I agree with that.
Let's be real. Okay, it's a freak show. Let's be real. But in the last few years, and traveling as much as I have, and I drove from New York to LA, literally to film a documentary and back. I went the northern route and the southern route, and I do over 100 flights a year. And
you drove? You actually drove across the country?
Yeah, it was during the shutdown. It was kind of like the best way to do it.
Very cool. Yeah.
And I'd never seen our country completely. I've driven to Texas and back, but I'd never driven from New York
straight through. Yeah.
And that was
It's an amazing
interesting.
country. It's amazing.
It is. I would never do it again. Driving through Nebraska, I questioned my existence after hours and hours of corn stalks.
Fields, yeah, nothing but fields.
I lost my mind there. I make it to Lincoln that night. I forgot it's even the capital. That's how small it was. I'm like, wait, this is the capital. Like I walked it in 2 minutes. I'm like, man, I'm glad I was from New York City, and I'm glad. Listen, me and you saw more than I did, but we saw something that people will never see again, man. It's sad for me to know that New York will never be what me and you remember it as. That's a very hard feeling.
I feel badly about that too. I feel really bad about it.
We didn't feel like that after September 11th. We actually had unity and we felt hope.
We fought back. We fought back.
Yeah, I always say this. What the terrorists couldn't do to New York City on September 11th, the politicians did for them.
Politicians did. A few dollars.
They divided us. They destroyed us. They made us hate each other. They made us fight each other. They allowed chaos and rioting. Yep. They punished the law-abiding citizen while they rewarded criminals and let them out on bail.
Still going on. Still in New York.
These games of inviting illegal aliens there, and then all of a sudden, no, we don't need them anymore. And like playing with millions of people's lives. These people should all be in fucking jail.
Well, I'm hopeful that the Trumpster's going to make some really, really bold moves. I'm hoping, but
I hope he's in the shadows plotting, but I'm starting to lose hope in that too.
Well, they killing it. They're fighting him every step of the way. I got to tell you, and the thing with the market was really a coup de grace because there's nothing more near and dear to a person than his money. And I would tell you, most people would say health, but because I was in the money business my whole life, I had surgeons would walk out of surgery just to take my call. Not like I had anything important to say, but that's how greedy they are. I said, I thought you were in a 12-hour surgery today. I am, but I want to know what's happening in my market. You want to short something? You want to go buy something? People were so greedy. And, it's like I had a ringside seat over what really moves people. And I realized that our country, the politicians, I should say, that represent are being bought and sold. It's like cattle, though. It's not even that expensive. So I bought and sold many politicians in my day, so And Forbes did a story of me. They've done many, but in the magazine, a 3-page spread, they came to my office. They're going to put me on the cover, this whole thing. And, they talk about Ross Mandell was back with a flair, selling stock and buying politicians. And that was very true. I bought senators, congressmen, members of parliament, cabinet members, presidential appointees, presidential envoys. I mean, 10, 15 grand a month. Tom Homan is the current border czar, right, under Trump. He's in charge of cleaning up securing the border, the illegal immigration and all that stuff. Tommy Homan worked for me for 4 years. He was on the board of my Homeland Security company. He was the number 2 guy at Homeland Security. We had the number 1 guy too, but he wasn't allowed to. So we had, you understand, Tommy? So I got to see firsthand what really goes on, and it was stunning to me because I'm a nobody. I'm some kid, grew up on Long Island, go to Manhattan. I'm a cold calling stockbroker. All of a sudden, I find myself a United States Senator making deals with, all these people. Everybody in Washington is for sale, period. And it's not the kind of money that you would think. So now with Trump, I think that people are these are business guys more now. For the first time in a long time, we got real business guys. He learned from his first term not to just go with politicians. He's putting business people, guys that actually build companies, run companies, manage thousands of people, because America's a business, first and foremost. The biggest business in the history of the world. In the history of the world. And it's about time we had someone that ran it like a business and not like a friggin' candy store. So, all right, let's talk about this cancel culture, because it's come up already in this little podcast we're doing. It's obviously real. Political correctness, religious hypocrisy. Do you think society's too soft? Do you think we're too self-righteous? What's your opinion on all this stuff?
Combination of all of the above, man. We're ignorant. First layer, ignorance.
I get it.
Second layer is we feel entitled. We feel like, because like I said, I don't agree with alternate lifestyles. I got nothing against those people. A lot of my friends are. I've told them to their face.
I'm the
It's like,
same
I'm gonna
way.
tell you, yeah, you live in America, you have that right, but I think it's more harmful to society than in the overall, and I think the proof's in its pudding. But bottom line is, you have the right to do that. I don't have a problem with it. That's your lifestyle choice.
Correct.
And guess what? As an American, being a Jew, a Christian, a Muslim, that's my lifestyle
100%.
choice. And my rights don't stop where yours begin. You do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do. Who are you to try to teach my children? You can't even have children biologically.
Can you imagine?
You two
Can you imagine?
doing this is never going to. So, in my opinion, you don't even belong at the table to discuss children. You can't even make them in your status, the way you want to have a relationship. So, I will teach my children not to hate anybody as an American, but that's where it stops. And I think a lot of people feel that way, and we're fucking tired of it. We're tired of the drag queen shows in front of children and sexually desensitizing them and all this fucking nonsense. It's pretty obvious. And for me, the tipping point really was when the movie Brokeback Mountain came out. When that movie came out, you never saw this stuff on TV. All of a sudden, you start seeing it everywhere. We were preconditioned and pushed this lifestyle when they're not even 1% of the population. We have bigger fish to fry. So I believe the elite use these differences to make us focus on things, to galvanize us, to keep us at each other's throats. So we're fighting each other instead of focusing on them. As in the words of the great George Carlin, it's one big fucking club.
It is.
And me and you, my friend, we ain't in it.
These are all distractions. They say, yeah, you don't want to chop off your penis and run in a race with women. It's okay. We give you that right. But meanwhile, they're taking away all our other rights. They're listening to our phone conversations. No more privacy.
They throw us some crumbs.
Money.
They throw us crumbs.
Correct. It's so sick.
I'm going to have to do a hard stop pretty soon.
We're actually finishing up right now, so it's good.
Just to give you
I want to say, if you could go back and sit down with your 18-year-old self, right down in New York City, what uncomfortable truth would you force him to hear?
A lot of these people around you don't give a flying fuck about you. You're too generous to them. You see them the way you're assuming they see you. They're not as loyal as you are. Most of them are going to ram a knife in your back, and it wasn't even because of any financial gain. It was just purely out of jealousy. Because until you understand jealousy, what a wicked emotion. That you can hurt someone who's actually been helping you, and there's no. I can understand how greed gets to some people. You understand?
Of course, I do.
Yeah. If anyone, right? You come from that world.
Yeah.
So I get it. Okay. If I got screwed over because someone made 10 or 20 million in some shape or form, I could kind of understand why. Okay. But someone that you love, you respect, you actually are rooting for, you want them to win, you've been there for them for years, rams a fucking knife in your back for no reason except to hurt you. And all you did was help them. That was a very difficult lesson to learn a couple of times. And it's a very painful one because you're like, you can't be betrayed by someone you don't know.
Correct. I would tell myself the same thing. So guys like us, we're loyal, we're driven, we're outspoken, and it's very easy for people to, I could imagine, attaching to your energy. I feel like you have this aura, you have this energy, and people are attracted.
And then there's the other half that are intimidated
but
by it.
They're attracted to it, right? People are attracted to energy. You know what I mean? Think about the nightlife, the clubs. People are attracted to the busy club, the crowded bar, the loud party, like that. All right, this is to me, these things are sort of close to me. Does God have a plan, or we just live in chaos?
I don't think we live in chaos. I think absolutely that God has a plan.
I love it. Okay.
I believe in divine wisdom. I believe that, I don't know if I have time to explain this, but I think it's a beautiful story. But basically, I do believe in divine wisdom. I believe that the game board of life is rigged by God.
By God. Doesn't matter what human clubs are going on.
Could you control when you were born?
No.
Did you get to choose to what family you were born? You could have been born to Somalis. You came out the way you came out, right?
I'd have to live in Minnesota.
Yeah, you could have been born 200 years ago.
I understand. I do believe in I believe in reincarnation.
That trajectory was already a precondition. So in my opinion, this is what I think. The game board of life is rigged by the Creator. And these obstacles, these challenges, these things that happen to us, how we respond is our free will. Because we don't have control. I didn't have control over a building slamming into the World Trade Center. I had to fucking deal with it. So did you?
How you
New York
react.
and the
Correct. I love it.
1 million people dead in Iraq from that building. So my point is, there's a lot of things we have no control over. I think man is arrogant when he thinks he has that type of control. No, you don't. There's only one that, in my opinion, has that power. Whatever obstacles are thrown our way, I do believe are to test humanity. And I believe how we respond with our free will, the gift that the Creator gave us, is where our salvation lies.
I love it. I love it. Any final message for our audience? Because I want my people to get to know you.
I'm very pleasantly surprised. I did not know much about you. I think it's better not to sometimes because I think it's more authentic. You know, you learn. I did the same thing with I really don't I maybe know a little bit, but I don't. I just want it to come out like we're having a conversation.
We're just chilling with two guys, two grown men chatting. I love it.
And after doing this episode, I can tell you I'm very interested in your story.
Thank you.
Not only am I interested in your story, I'll be in Miami next week.
Wow.
I'll be staying in Miami, but I can shoot. I'm landing in Fort Lauderdale. I'd love to meet you for a coffee or a drink.
That would be my pleasure. I also have an office in Miami, just so you know. I have a studio I use in Miami.
Okay, another thing I would have told my younger self is find this guy, Ross Mandell, and beg him to be an intern. I started in sales in commercial leasing at 18 years old.
Oh, you were...
And I got thrown out of every building in the garment district. That was my first experience in sales while I was in college. After I got out of college, I went the banking route. But my first real job, where I cut my teeth and kind of gained a nerve, was in commercial leasing in Midtown Manhattan. What a difficult job that was. I was against Newmark and all these massive companies, and I would knock on every fucking door and try to find out who the owner is and when their lease expires, so we could kind of have a shot to go after these offices and these sweatshops that they had in the garment district. Correct. And so, it's really my pleasure. I'm very pleasantly surprised. Your story amazes me. It saddens me in some ways because I don't think that's cool. I think a lot of people look up to guys like you. Everyone's rooting for the guy that can find the fucking angle, and you're definitely one of them. So I'm very fascinated. I'll hit you up when I'm in Florida.
Please do.
Grab a bite. Maybe I'll let you take me to Rocco's Tacos.
Rocco's a good guy. He's actually a good guy.
It's actual Rocco?
Yeah. Rocco Mandell. He was a fan of mine when he first opened a restaurant and everything.
And I also think there might be some very important synergy.
Yeah, I believe that.
It would be beneficial for us to at least get together for 20, 30 minutes, if not dinner.
It's amazing what a Jew and a Muslim could accomplish. Think about that.
And an Albanian.
I love that. Well, I'm actually...
my grandmother...
I'm Hungarian and Russian.
So you got some of that. So you like goulash. Yeah. Good. I like goulash.
In fact, my daughter and I just did this 23andMe thing the day before they went bankrupt. But we're waiting for our results now to see what our lineage is for, our DNA. We think we know, but everyone I speak to is so surprised by the actual result.
I forgot what the one thing is. It's unique to the Albanians, but a lot of people have it in Europe. I forgot what the hell it's called. UV. My cousin knows it. I got to bring him on.
Have you ever done this 23andMe, this genetic thing?
I'll be honest with you. I'm glad I didn't.
It'd be interesting for you, I think.
I know, but it's not because I don't want to know. It's because look at what happened with the 23andMe.
I hear you.
They're going bankrupt. Everyone has that data now. Imagine their plan is to nuke the world, but now they bring us all back. I'm not saying I believe that, but you never know.
You never know. Everybody, there's so much going on.
Well, my phone number, let alone my DNA.
What a privilege it was to get to meet you today. I really hope you reach out to me.
No, I will. I'm going to get your number.
Yeah, I'm going to have Stephanie take care of that for me. And
I'm there next Thursday to Sunday. I'll be around. Listen to me. I will definitely, not only will I meet up with you, but I've launched a complete vlog channel. I'd love to come vlog with you, man. Come and show people me meeting you, and I'll put it in.
That would be a lot of fun. I'm a controversial cat too,
So let's do it.
Ready.
I'd love to put you.
We got to get it organized though. So let's do it.
I'm there next Thursday.
I'm just saying my schedule's friggin' nuts.
Hey, all of your audience, as someone that's been doing this for 6 years, as someone that's been around the biggest podcasters in the world, this guy's got it, man. And you'd be stupid not to listen to him because he's definitely seen things that me and you can only read about in books. And I'm happy that you're doing this, man.
Thank you.
And I'm going to tell your story next.
I really appreciate that, and I'm psyched to meet you. Thank you for today. I appreciate your time, really.
Thank you. And I'm glad your team reached out, man. I'm very happy.
You're a
with
special
this,
guy.
I'm looking forward to it. And we'll get some nice highlights out there. It's going to go viral. I know.
I'm excited.
Shalom.